Hello and welcome back to the tutorial series. Today we're going to be going over variables and types. So yeah, let's go right into it and remove all this. So what is a variable? A variable is basically just an information holder, and it provides a way to store data so it can be retrieved or altered again at a later date. Every variable must have a name and a value, and to declare a variable you must surround it with curly brackets and put the name inside. Obviously this has to be under a trigger or an event for it to work, because you can't just have code like this in the middle of nowhere. Variables can be used to store all sorts of data types, whether that be a living entity like a player, a number, a string, or even a location. All of them will work. There are two main types of variables in terms of accessibility or scope, if you're familiar with other languages. The first of the two being global variables. Now, global variables can be accessed anywhere regardless of where they're being declared, whereas the second type of variables, local variables, will only be accessible within the command, event, or function where they've been declared. If you don't know what functions are yet, that's fine, because we haven't gone over it yet, and I'll be making an episode on it very soon. I'll now be writing some examples showing you when and how to use these variables, starting with global variables. Okay, so let's get rid of this, and we're going to start off by writing a script that allows us to track the total damage received by all players on the server. So to do this, we're going to listen to the event on damage, and then we're going to add the damage, which is the damage received on the event, to a global variable called total damage. This is a naming convention called camel case. It's where the first word of the variable is in lowercase and the second one has capital. Now we're going to make a new command, and we're going to call it total damage. And just add a trigger like always, and then we're going to do send in total the server has taken. Then we call the variable, surrounding it in these percentage signs like we did with the expression last episode, because you can call these inside of text like you can with expressions. It works the same for variables. So yeah, in total the server has taken total damage. Send that to the player. Now if we go in game and we do escape reload scripts, now say we jump off this tree, take some damage. Now if we do total damage, in total the server has taken 6 damage, which counts it in half a heart. So that's why even though we only took 3 hearts of damage, it counts 6. So the reason this works is, even though we declared this variable inside of another event, we can still call it here because it's a global variable, so you can transfer it between different commands and events. However, if we made it a local variable using an underscore, this is how you denote a local variable. You start it off with an underscore, and then we tried to call it in here, do the same thing. Let's get reload scripts. Let's go in game mode real quick so I can build up. And fall off. Took 4 hearts of damage there, so it should tell us 8. But now if we do /total damage, it says none. This is because it was declared under a different trigger, and local variables do not transfer between different events and commands. However, if we were to go back here and send the variable to the person who took the damage, this is denoted by a victim in this case for the damage event, then we go in game, reload, build up, jump off, let's say 1.5. However, if we run the command again, we see it still says none because it's under a different trigger. Local variables are useful when you need to retrieve some data that is only useful under the current trigger that you're in. After my code had ran, it would then have been discarded by Skript and not saved in memory. An example of when a local variable would be useful would be command / what is my tool name. Simple trigger. We do set name to name of player's tool. So this is just save the name of your tool in a local variable. Now we can do send your tool name is name. Of course you could have done this directly, and you could just call it directly inside of here, but it would have been a bit more messy, and usually when code gets more complicated, you want to be able to separate it out into different sections and just increase the readability of the code. So having local variables like this is sometimes useful. So set it back to that. Now we go in game, escape reload scripts. You can see we've got a custom item here. It's a diamond sword named hello. Do what is my tool name? It'll say your tool name is hello. Okay, so last but not least, there is also a third type of variable, but it's not mutually exclusive from local variables or global ones, and it's called a list variable. List variables are the most complicated in Skript, and they allow you to hold multiple different pieces of data that don't have to be of the same type under one variable. List variables are structured like so. You'll have the curly brackets like usual, you'll have the name, a double colon followed by an asterisk. So this is the name of the variable or the identifier, and then this just shows it's a list variable. Might be a bit confused, but we're going to do an example to make it slightly easier to understand. So say I wanted to clear my inventory, but I wanted to save the armor that was on my body. We could do this by creating a command like clear inventory, trigger, and then we could set gear followed by this structure to show it's a list variable. You can see we're also making it local because we're not going to use this outside of this command. Set gear to helmet of player, chest plate of player, leggings of player, and finally boots of player. So you can see the singular variable is able to hold all of these different pieces of data. Although they might be of the same type, in this case they don't have to be. So now, after we've saved our armor to a variable, we can now clear inventory of player to clear our inventory. And now we can give the variable like this back to the player. You don't have to like loop through it or anything, you can just put it there and it will give all of the elements of the list back to the player. So now if we go in game, do escape reload tutorial. Now when we do clear inventory, it will remove all of these blocks from our inventory and give our armor back to us in our hotbar, like so. Now say you wanted to tell the player what items they received back, you could just write items received, colon, now we can go to the next line. The first one would be the helmet, and now we can call the variable like this. You see how we've called a 1 here instead of a colon? This is because we are addressing a single item of the list. So when we put a 1 here, this calls the first item of the list rather than calling the whole list. And this will return the helmet of the player, which is the first element stored in the list. We can do the same for all the others. So chest plate, gear 2, this is the second item on the list, aka the chest plate. Repeat this for the rest. Right, now that's done, we can just go back in game, reload the tutorial. And now let's put the armor back on our head. And run the command again. Now you can see items received, diamond helmet, diamond chest plate, diamond leggings, and diamond boots. Of course, if you just wanted to say all of the items in one line, you could just send gear and then with the asterisk instead. This will send all of the items in the list. Go back in game, reload, clear inventory, and I'll say items received, diamond helmet, diamond chest plate, diamond leggings, diamond boots. It's important to note this isn't the only way of setting a list variable. You can also set each index individually. So now we can set gear 1 to helmet, gear 2 to chest plate, set gear 3 to leggings. Oh, forgot the 2 there. And finally, set gear 4 to boots of player. So this will do the exact same thing as the thing we did before, but it'll just do it on separate lines. Also, you don't have to have the indexes here as numerics. You can also just have it as an actual word or a string. So gear, helmet, chest plate, and then leggings and boots. This is useful because then it allows you to do stuff like linking variables to players. So say I wanted to store the kills of a player, I could do set kills, colon, and then the player. Or, well, most cases you'd use UID, but we'll go more into that later. And now we can associate the amount of kills a player has with this variable. That's all for this episode. Next episode we'll be going over loops and conditions, where we'll be further diving into variables. So if you don't understand anything in this episode, it might help you understand it more in the next one. Thank you for stopping in, and goodbye.